Hey guys, tonight we begin with the ultimate test of human grit. A journey back to a time when the entire world was frozen solid. Today, we are diving into how people survived the Ice Age. Imagine the bite of air so cold, it feels like shards of glass in your lungs. The world is monochrome, a blinding expanse of white under a pale, low-hanging sun. The only sounds are the constant, moaning wind and the deep, groaning crack of distant glaciers shifting like sleeping giants. You can smell the pure, sterile scent of frozen nothingness, a sharpness that tells you nothing lives here, easily nothing, but the tough, the clever, and the stubborn. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see who is joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum of a perpetual icy draft. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you've just time traveled to 20,000 BC. The good news, you're alive. The bad news, so is the mile-thick sheet of ice currently inching its way toward your future breakfast. You're not waking up in a cozy cave. Let's be real. You're waking up shivering on a bed of frozen gravel and old reindeer moss, wrapped in the slightly damp, definitely smelly hide of something that probably tried to eat your cousin last week. This is your home. This scratchy, hairy blanket is your best friend, your only source of warmth aside from the huddled, snoring bodies of your extended family all crammed together in a shallow rock shelter that does a spectacular job of blocking the view and a tragically poor job of blocking the wind. Your first conscious thought isn't, "What's for breakfast?" It's, "Are my toes still attached?" Followed closely by, "Did something just sniff my foot?" This is the Ice Age. And every single day from the moment you crack open your frosty eyelids to the moment you finally, exhaustedly, pass out again is a single, simple question. How do we not die today? It wasn't a philosophical exercise. It was the to-do list. Item 1, don't freeze. Item 2, don't starve. Item 3, try not to get trampled by something with tusks longer than you are tall. You're not living in some epic fantasy novel. You're living in a gritty, desperate, and brutally cold documentary where the narrator's voice is just the howling wind and your own chattering teeth. Let's take a proper look at your bedroom, the rock shelter. It's not a cave in the majestic cathedral sense. It's more of a rock's overhang, a geological shrug that provides just enough cover to keep the worst of the snow off your face while you sleep. The walls are damp and cold to the touch, seeping a slow, mineral-rich chill that sinks directly into your bones. The floor is just the ground, hard-packed earth and stone that leaches any residual body heat you manage to generate straight out of you. There are no rugs. There is no fireplace inside. A fire inside this cramped space would mean smoke inhalation, a very real and very terrifying way to go. So the fire is outside, and you are in here, and the distance between them might as well be a marathon in this cold. And the smell. Let's not skip the smell. It's a potent, layered aroma that tells the story of your life. It's the musky, thick scent of unwashed human bodies, all huddled together for warmth for weeks on end. It's the sharp, pungent odor of curing animal hides and the greasy, smoky scent of fat from last night's meal still lingering on skin and clothing. It's the earthy, faintly rotten smell of old bones and the dry, dusty scent of moss and lichen used as bedding. It's not a good smell, but in a strange way, it's the smell of safety. It's the smell of people. It's the smell of not being alone out here in the frozen silence. Your clothes. What are you wearing? Forget cotton. Forget wool. Those are luxuries for a future you can't even conceive of. You are wearing leather. Specifically, you are wearing the carefully scraped and softened hide of a reindeer, or maybe a bison. It has been crudely stitched together with sinew animal tendon, by someone in your group who has the patience and the skill. It's stiff, it's crunchy when you move, and when it gets wet, it becomes a cold, heavy second skin that saps your will to live. But it's all you have. Underneath? Probably nothing. Or maybe a layer of softer fox or hare fur if you were lucky on a recent hunt. The goal isn't fashion. The goal is to create a dead air space around your body, to trap your precious body heat in a microclimate of you-scented air. You are a walking, slightly gamey thermos. Now, about those toes. You look down. Your feet are wrapped in layers of fur and stuffed into mukluk-style boots, likely made from sealskin or the leg skin of a caribou, with the fur side facing in. They are tied shut with leather thongs. They are, by modern standards, not waterproof, but they are insulated. And right now, insulation is the difference between keeping your feet and having to explain to everyone why you're now hopping everywhere. You wiggle your toes. They are cold, numb, but they respond. Victory. Small, personal, but a victory nonetheless. You've already passed the first test of the day without even getting up. The light is starting to change outside the shelter's entrance. A gray, weak dawn is filtering through the animal hide that's been stretched across the opening in a vain attempt to keep drafts out. It's not sunrise as you know it. It's more like the world is slowly turning up a dimmer switch on a freezer. You can hear the others stirring. A low cough, a grunt, the rustle of furs. Someone, probably a child, is already whining softly about the cold. They aren't being dramatic. They are being accurate. This is the moment. The moment you have to leave the relative, and I mean very relative, shelter of your body heat-huddled group and face the day. The air outside this fur pile is significantly colder. You know this. Everyone knows this. There's a collective, unspoken dread. Who has to get up first to poke the fire? Who has to brave that first blast of Arctic air? It's usually the person closest to the entrance, which, last night, was you, because you lost the argument. Or the rock, paper, scissors equivalent, which was probably just a series of increasingly aggressive grunts and shoves. You take a deep breath, which you immediately regret as the cold air stings your throat and lungs. You push the heavy hide aside, and it hits you. The cold, the real cold. It's not just an absence of heat. It's a physical presence. It slaps you across the face with an open, icy hand. It seeps through your furs in an instant, finding every gap, every poorly tied seam. Your eyes water, and the tears feel like they might freeze on your cheeks. The wind, which sounded bad from inside, is now a personal vendetta against your existence. It howls, whipping particles of ice and snow that feel like tiny needles against any exposed skin. You squint, your world reduced to a blur of white and gray. The landscape is alien. It's not a winter wonderland. It's a wasteland. A beautiful, terrifying, and utterly merciless wasteland. In the distance, beyond the small, smoking circle of stones that is your hearth, the world stretches out a vast, treeless plain called the Mammoth Steppe. It's covered in a tough, short grass poking through the snow, enough to support immense herds of animals that are your lifeline. But right now, it just looks empty and impossibly large. The sky is a sheet of low, heavy cloud, the color of lead. There are no birds singing. The only movement is the snow drifting in the wind. It is silent, apart from that ever-present wind. A deep, profound silence that is more intimidating than any noise. This is your world. This frozen, magnificent, deadly world. And your first task, before you can even think about food, is to convince that pathetic little pile of embers in the fire pit to come back to life. Because without fire, you might as just crawl back into the shelter and wait for the end. But you won't, because you are an Ice Age human, and giving up is not in the job description. Continuing on from that fragile, smoking fire, the world doesn't get warmer. It just gets clearer. The weak sun climbs a little higher, not to offer warmth, but to act as a great, cold spotlight, illuminating the stage upon which your survival play will be performed today. This isn't your world. You are just living in it, a temporary guest in a kingdom of ice and giants. So let's take a proper look at this kingdom. The mammoth steppe. Forget everything you think you know about the Arctic today. This isn't a barren wasteland. It's a frigid, hyper-productive grassland that stretches from Spain all the way to Alaska, a single massive continent of cold. It's a paradox. It's freezing, but it's teeming with life. Underneath the thin blanket of snow, a tough, nutritious grass grows, a superfuel for the most magnificent and terrifying megafauna the world has ever seen. This is the pantry, but it's also the battlefield. Your world is populated by creatures that would make a modern elephant look like a petting zoo attraction. We're not talking about cute, fuzzy animals. We're talking about biological tanks, walking fortresses. Let's meet the neighbors, shall we? And pray you never have to invite them over for dinner. First, the headline act. The woolly mammoth. You think you know them from cartoons? Think again. Imagine a creature so large its shoulder is higher than the roof of a single-story house. It's covered in a shaggy, dark brown coat of fur, made up of guard hairs up to 3 feet long. Underneath, a thick layer of wool and a whopping 4 inches of fat keep it insulated against cold that would kill you in hours. Its tusks aren't just fancy ornaments. They are curved, spiraled weapons and tools, each one longer than you are tall, weighing hundreds of pounds. They use them to sweep snow off the grass, to fight for mates, and to casually demolish anything that gets in their way. Like, say, you. When a mammoth herd moves, you don't just see them. You feel it. The ground trembles. It's a low rhythmic vibration that travels up through the soles of your feet, a primal drumbeat that says, "We are here. We are huge. Move." Their sound is a deep, rumbling trumpet, a noise that doesn't just travel through the air, but seems to vibrate inside your chest cavity. They are the undisputed kings of the steppe. And you, with your sharpened stick, are hoping to borrow a few 100 pounds of their meat. No pressure. Then there's the woolly rhinoceros. If the mammoth is the king, the woolly rhino is the grumpy, heavily armored duke who doesn't like visitors. It's built like a battering ram on 4 legs, covered in thick, plate-like skin and a dense undercoat. And on its nose, a monstrous horn. Not the small, neat horn of a modern rhino. We're talking a horn that could be over 1 meter long, a brutal, curved spike of keratin, perfect for goring anything that looks at it sideways. It's a solitary creature, bad-tempered and notoriously unpredictable. Where a mammoth might just ignore you, a woolly rhino is likely to decide you are a personal insult and charge. And when something that weighs 2 tons decides to charge you, the only appropriate response is to invent teleportation. Sadly, that technology is still a few millennia away. Let's not forget the predators. Because what's a frozen ecosystem without a few apex killers to keep you on your toes? The scimitar-toothed cat, often called the saber-tooth, but let's be specific. This isn't a fluffy kitten with long canines. This is Homotherium. It's built for endurance running, like a nightmarish cross between a lion and a hyena. It doesn't have the classic dagger-like sabers of its more famous cousin, Smilodon. It has shorter, serrated, scimitar-shaped teeth that are perfect for slicing and tearing. It likely hunts in packs, and it's smart. It doesn't just rely on brute force. It uses strategy. It could take down a young mammoth. You, in your crunchy leather outfit, are barely a snack. You are a convenient bipedal lunchbox. And then there's the cave lion, Panthera spelaea. Think of a modern African lion. Now make it about 25% larger. Now give it a thicker, shaggier coat to survive the cold, and a temperament that has never known fear because nothing has ever challenged it. That's the cave lion. Its roar isn't just a sound. It's a physical force that echoes across the steppe, a declaration of ownership that every other creature, including you, instinctively understands. You will never be the top of this food chain. You are somewhere in the middle, desperately trying to avoid becoming a link in someone else's. But it's not all monsters and mayhem. There are the workhorses of the steppe, the animals you actually have a chance of hunting, and that form the backbone of your survival. The reindeer, or caribou. These aren't the cute Christmas card versions. These are tough, migratory animals that move in herds, so vast they darken the landscape. Their arrival is a seasonal event, a time of frantic activity and potential feasting. Then there are the bison, ancestors of the modern ones, but often larger, with horns spanning a breathtaking width. They are unpredictable, powerful, and when spooked, a stampede can flatten anything in its path. The landscape itself is a character in this story. It's not just flat. There are rolling hills, river valleys cut by meltwater, and the ever-present pressure of the ice sheets themselves to the north. These glaciers are not static. They are alive, slowly flowing, grinding mountains into dust beneath their immense weight. They are the source of the cold winds that scour the land. In the summer, the top layer of soil thaws, creating a boggy, treacherous landscape known as permafrost, solidly frozen ground just a foot or two below the surface. One wrong step could mean a broken ankle, a twisted knee, a death sentence in a world where mobility is life. The sky is a vast, domed canvas. At night, without a single speck of light pollution, the Milky Way is a brilliant, swirling river of stars, so bright it casts faint shadows. The aurora borealis dances, green and purple ghosts flickering silently, which your people likely see as spirits, ancestors, or omens. By day, the sun is a weak, pale visitor, never climbing high, its light slanting and long, creating a world of deep blue shadows even at noon. This is your reality, a world of breathtaking beauty and immediate, visceral danger, a world where you are both the hunter and the hunted. Every decision, every step outside the relative safety of your rock shelter is a calculated risk. Do you follow the mammoth herd for a chance at a life-changing quantity of meat and fat? Or do you focus on smaller game, like the Arctic hare or the ptarmigan, a safer but less rewarding bet? Do you venture towards the river to fish, knowing that predators also know it's a watering hole? This is the constant background calculus of the Ice Age mind. You are not just living day to day. You are playing a high-stakes game of chess against nature, and every piece on the board is bigger, faster, and stronger than you. Your only advantage? That clever, problem-solving brain tucked inside your frosty skull. And right now, that brain is telling you to keep that fire going, because out here in the world of endless winter, the giants are watching. From the terrifying grandeur of the mammoth steppe, we now turn to something much smaller, much more intimate, and infinitely more precious. The four walls you hope will keep you alive through the night. Because when the sun begins its hurried retreat, and the blue-black shadows stretch like grasping fingers across the snow, all the mammoths and lions in the world don't matter. What matters is the space between you and the killing cold. Your shelter isn't a real estate investment. It's a life raft in a frozen ocean. So how do you build a life raft when your hardware store is a frozen wilderness and your building supplies have a tendency to run away or eat you? With breathtaking ingenuity and a complete lack of other options, that's how. The first and most iconic shelter is the mammoth bone hut. It sounds like something from a dark fairy tale, and honestly, it looks like one too. Imagine a circle of mammoth skulls, placed like grim, bony sentinels into the frozen earth. Their massive, curved tusks are arched overhead, lashed together to form a domed framework that resembles the ribcage of some colossal, long-dead beast. Because that's essentially what it is. You are living inside the skeleton of your greatest fear and most desired prize. The irony is not lost on you. The spaces between this macabre framework are stuffed with whatever you can find: clumps of frozen earth, smaller bones, branches from dwarf willow trees, if you're lucky enough to be near a river valley. Then, over the top of this entire structure, you drape layer upon layer of animal hides: mammoth, bison, reindeer, anything large and tough. These are pegged down with sharpened sticks or weighed down with heavy stones. The entrance is a low, narrow tunnel, just a flap of hide, forcing you to crawl in and out on your hands and knees. This isn't for ceremony. It's a cold trap. The warm air, being lighter, rises and stays in the main dome. The heavy cold air sinks and pools in the tunnel, creating a plug that stops the precious heat from just flowing out the door like an unwelcome guest. It's simple, brilliant physics, understood not from a textbook, but from the raw, urgent need to not turn into an ice cube by morning. But let's be clear. Building one of these is not a weekend project. It is a monumental, clan-wide effort that takes days, maybe weeks. It requires a successful mammoth hunt, or more likely, the scavenging of multiple mammoth skeletons from past hunts or natural deaths. The bones are unbelievably heavy. A single mammoth femur can weigh over 100 pounds. Moving them, positioning them, heaving them into place, it's back-breaking, finger-splitting, soul-crushing work. Everyone helps. The strongest men and women maneuver the giant bones. The elderly and children gather insulating materials: grass, moss, heather. The skilled hide workers prepare the covers. It's a symphony of communal labor, conducted to the soundtrack of grunts, chopping sounds, and the ever-present wind. The reward, though, is a semi-permanent home, a structure that can last for years, a landmark on the vast, empty steppe, a statement: we are here. We built this. We belong. But you can't always be so ambitious. Sometimes you're on the move, following the herds. Sometimes you just need a place to sleep for a few nights. This is where the humble, yet utterly vital, lean-to comes in. This is the Ice Age equivalent of a pop-up tent. Find a large, sturdy rock face or a fallen tree. That's your back wall. Now, gather a bunch of long, straight branches. Pine is good if you can find it. Lean them against your rock or log, creating a slanted roof. Weave smaller, flexible branches horizontally through them to add stability. Then, pile on whatever insulation you can carry or find. Clumps of snow, if it's the dry, packable kind, are actually fantastic insulation. You're not just piling snow. You're building an igloo-style wall, trapping air pockets that hold in heat. Or you throw on armfuls of pine boughs, their dense needles creating a thatched, weather-resistant layer. The final touch? A hide over the entrance. It's crude. It's cramped. You'll be sleeping in a single-file line with your companions, pressed together for warmth like sardines in a very cold, very dirty can. But it can be built in a few hours with nothing but a sharp hand axe and desperate determination. It is the definition of functional. Then there's the pit house. This is for when you plan to stay a while in one place, but don't have the resources or manpower for a bone hut. You dig. Simple as that. You find a good spot, preferably on a well-drained slope, and you dig a circular pit, maybe 3 or 4 feet deep and 10 feet across. You are, quite literally, digging yourself into the earth. The earth itself is your insulator. The ground, even frozen, holds a more stable temperature than the air. The walls of your pit are your foundation. Now you create a roof. You take long poles, mammoth tusks, if you're incredibly lucky, but more likely stout tree trunks, and lay them across the pit. Over this you layer hides, then perhaps a foot of soil and turf. It's a sod roof. From a distance, your home might just look like a small, grassy hillock. It's discreet. It's thermally efficient. And it feels incredibly secure, being nestled down in the belly of the earth. The entrance is usually a hole in the roof, with a notched log serving as a ladder, or another low, tunnel-like entrance at the side. The air inside is still, heavy, and smells profoundly of damp earth and smoke from the central hearth. It's a womb of soil and human effort. No matter the type of shelter, the interior is always the same study in minimalist survival. The floor might be covered with a thick layer of dry grass, rushes, or furs. This isn't for comfort, though the cushioning is a welcome bonus. This is your floor insulation, a crucial barrier between you and the frozen ground. Your belongings are few. A stack of hides for bedding, a few stone tools neatly placed in a niche in the wall, a wooden bowl, a bundle of carefully straightened spear shafts. There are no closets, no shelves, no decorations beyond perhaps a carved bone pendant or a string of beads, tiny affirmations of identity and beauty in a world obsessed with brute function. The center of the home, the literal and figurative hearth, is the fire pit, a shallow depression in the ground lined with stones containing the smoldering remains of your life-sustaining fire. This is where the family gathers. This is where stories are told in hushed tones, where plans are made, where hands are warmed, and where, for a few precious hours, the world outside with all its tusks and teeth and terror is held at bay. The roof is low, the space is cramped, and the air is hazy with smoke that stings your eyes. But in this tiny, human-made pocket of warmth, you are not just surviving. You are living. You are building a world, one bone, one branch, one handful of earth at a time. From the earthy embrace of a shelter, one truth becomes blazingly clear. A home without fire is just a slightly warmer cave. It's the fire that transforms a pile of bones and hides into a sanctuary. That small, flickering circle of light and heat is the beating heart of your existence, the difference between a cold, fearful night and a future. Mastering fire isn't a skill. It's a relationship, a daily, desperate, and deeply sacred negotiation with the most powerful element in your frozen world. So, how do you start a relationship with a being that can either save you or devour you? You don't just rub two sticks together and hope for the best. That's a great way to get blisters and disappointment. The technology of the time is both brilliantly simple and maddeningly difficult. The premier method is the hand drill. Here's the recipe for creating life from nothing. First, you need a fireboard. This is a flat, dry piece of softwood willow, poplar, or cedar if you can find it. You carve a small, shallow depression near the edge. Then you need a spindle. This is a straight, dry stick of a harder wood, about as thick as your finger and 2 feet long. You place the pointed end of this spindle into the depression on the fireboard. Now for the hard part. You press down on the top of the spindle and roll it rapidly between your palms, moving your hands from the top down to the bottom as fast as you can, then quickly bringing them back to the top to repeat the motion. It looks easy when a master does it. It is not. You are trying to create friction, and through friction, heat. Intense, concentrated heat. Your shoulders scream. Your palms burn, raw and blistered, even through calluses built from a lifetime of labor. You sweat, despite the cold, and the sweat freezes on your brow. This can go on for minutes that feel like hours. You are a human motor, and your fuel is pure determination. The goal is to create a fine, dark, powdered dust from the grinding wood. This dust, superheated by your effort, will eventually, if the gods of wood, weather, and your own stamina are aligned, form a single glowing ember. A tiny orange-red coal, no bigger than a lentil. This is your prize. This is hope, physically manifest. You hold your breath. The world narrows to this speck of heat. Now the most delicate transfer in prehistory. You cannot just pick it up. With the tip of your knife or a sliver of bone, you gently, ever so gently, tip this precious ember into a waiting tinder bundle. This isn't just any dry grass. This is a carefully prepared nest of the fluffiest, driest, most combustible material you can find. Shredded tree bark, dried fungus like amadou, the fluffy seed heads of cattails, bird down, even the fine dry hair from a musk ox's undercoat. You cradle the ember into this nest. Then you bring it to your lips and blow. Not too hard, or you'll extinguish it. Not too soft, or you'll starve it. A steady, focused stream of air, like you're whispering life itself into existence. You watch as the ember glows brighter, a tiny star in your hands. A wisp of smoke curls up, carrying the sacred smell of burning tinder. Then, a miracle. A tiny flame licks out, orange and hungry. You have created fire. The relief is a physical wave, so potent it almost buckles your knees. You quickly lower the burning bundle into a prepared hearth of kindling small twigs, dry shavings, and nurture it, feed it, watch it grow from a fragile infant into a robust, crackling child. You have won. For today. But what if it's damp? What if you're exhausted? What if you just can't face the hand drill again? This is where foresight comes in. You become a fire banker. No, not with coins, with coals. Before you sleep for the night, you don't let the fire die out completely. You bank it. You carefully bury the glowing embers under a thick layer of ash. The ash acts as an insulator, starving the embers of oxygen, just enough to keep them smoldering, sleeping, but not dying. It's a deep hibernation for fire. In the morning, when you wake up to a world still frozen stiff, you don't have to go through the whole arduous creation process. You simply scrape away the ash, expose the embers, add some kindling, and blow. Within minutes, you have a fire. It is the greatest gift your past self can give your present self. Letting the fire die completely isn't an inconvenience. It's a crisis. A failure. A betrayal of the entire group. Once you have your fire, its jobs are endless. First and most obvious, warmth. The radiant heat is a physical comfort, but it's also a practical one. It dries your damp furs. It warms your stiff, cold hands enough to regain dexterity. It keeps the frostbite at bay. Second, light. The dancing flames push back the oppressive, predatory darkness, creating a circle of safety where human life can happen. Stories are told, tools are repaired, social bonds are strengthened. This circle of light is the stage for your culture. Then there's food. Fire is your first and most important kitchen appliance. You can now cook meat, making it easier to chew and digest, and more importantly, safer to eat by killing parasites. But it's not just about meat. You can roast starchy roots that would be inedible and hard raw. You can crack open bones to get at the rich, life-sustaining marrow inside, a crucial source of fat. Fire renders fat, a process that gives you long-lasting, high-energy fuel. You can even use heated stones to boil water in hide bags or birch bark containers. A trick that seems like magic, making safe drinking water and creating nutritious stews from scraps of meat, bone, and foraged greens. Fire is a tool maker. You use it to harden the tips of wooden spears, making them more durable. You can control fire to heat treat certain types of stone, like flint, making it easier to knapp and shape into sharper, more efficient tools. Fire is a weapon. A burning branch waved at a curious predator is often enough to make it think twice. A ring of fire around your camp at night is the best security system available for 20,000 BC. But perhaps most importantly, fire is psychology. Staring into the flames is a form of meditation, a respite from the constant, grinding pressure of survival. The crackle and pop are a comforting soundtrack that drowns out the ominous noises of the night. The smell of wood smoke is the smell of safety, of home, of people. It is a tangible connection to the countless generations before you who also sat around a fire, staring into the same flames, wondering about their place in a vast, cold, and beautiful world. That tiny, defiant flame against the immense darkness is the story of humanity itself. You are not just keeping a fire alive. You are keeping a legacy burning. From the life-giving warmth of the hearth, we step back out into the cold, where the fire's true purpose is revealed. It's not just for comfort. It's the forge that tempers your courage and hardens your tools, because now you must go out and face the giants. The fire's heat is a fleeting memory as you pick up a spear, its weight a sobering reminder of the task ahead. Hunting in the Ice Age isn't a sport. It's a high-stakes gamble where the currency is calories, and the house always has tusks and teeth. So, what's in your arsenal? You're not facing down a woolly mammoth with a pointy stick. Well, not just a pointy stick. Your primary weapon is the spear, but it's a masterpiece of Stone Age engineering. First, the spearhead. It's not just a sharp rock. It's a blade of flint or obsidian, carefully knapped by a skilled craftsperson. Using a hammerstone and an antler tine, they've struck off flakes with surgical precision, creating a leaf-shaped point with razor-sharp edges and a deadly, penetrating tip. This isn't a clumsy rock tied to a stick. It's a designed weapon. This stone point is then hafted to a long, straight wooden shaft, usually of spruce or pine, using a combination of sinew, dried animal, tendon that shrinks and tightens as it dries, and sticky waterproof birch tar glue made by heating birch bark. The result is a formidable thrusting spear, strong enough to withstand impact, with a tip that can slice through thick hide and muscle. But for the real giants, you need more than muscle. You need physics. Enter the atlatl, or spear thrower. This is the game changer. It's a simple-looking device, a short wooden shaft with a hook at one end and a hand grip at the other. You notch the butt of your spear into the hook. When you throw, the atlatl acts as an extension of your arm, a lever that dramatically increases the velocity and force of the throw. It turns your arm into a catapult. The spear flies faster, harder, and farther than you could ever manage by hand alone. The first time you feel the thrum of a spear launched from an atlatl, you understand. This isn't just a tool. It's a force multiplier. It's what makes the impossible seem merely suicidal. But the weapon is nothing without a strategy. You are not a hero in an epic poem charging a mammoth solo. You are a single cell in a larger organism, the hunting party. Success depends on communication, coordination, and trusting the person next to you with your life. The hunt begins long before you see prey. It begins with tracking. You learn to read the land like a book. A broken twig, a fresh pile of dung steaming slightly in the cold air, a scrape on a tree where a mammoth rubbed its itchy side, the precise shape of a hoofprint in the mud at a waterhole. These are the sentences and paragraphs that tell you what passed by, how long ago, and where it was headed. The best hunters are not the strongest. They are the most observant. They can hear the difference between the wind in the grass and the movement of a herd. They can smell a predator on the air before they see it. This knowledge is your first and most important weapon. Now, for the main event, the mammoth hunt. Imagine the plan. It's less a battle and more an ambush on a geologic scale. The hunting party, maybe 20 or 30 strong, has been tracking a herd for days. They've identified a target, often a young, old, or injured animal, separating it from the safety of the group. They don't plan to fight it. They plan to kill it. They might use geography, driving the mammoth towards a natural trap, like a swampy bog where its immense weight becomes a liability, or over a cliff. The sound is deafening, the panicked trumpets of the mammoth, the shouts and coordinated cries of the hunters, the thunder of hooves shaking the earth. As the mammoth struggles, slowed and enraged, the hunters move in. This is the most dangerous moment. A flick of that trunk can shatter bones. A stumble of a foot can crush a person into the ground. They don't throw spears wildly. They get close. Dangerously close. They aim for the soft underbelly, the flanks, the armpits, anywhere the hide is thinner, and a spear can penetrate to reach vital organs. It is a brutal, bloody, and terrifying ballet of death. Each thrust is a risk. Each hunter's life is in the hands of the others, who are drawing the beast's attention, distracting it, harrying it from the sides. It's not a clean kill. It's a slow, exhausting process of bleeding the giant out, of wearing it down through 100 small wounds. The triumph, when it finally comes, is not a cheer of victory, but a collective gasp of exhausted relief, followed by the grim, urgent reality of the work to come. But mammoths aren't the only menu item. Smaller game is the daily bread of survival. Hunting reindeer during their migration is a different kind of operation. It requires stealth and precision. Using the landscape for cover, hunters would lie in wait at river crossings or known paths, using thrown spears or atlatls to take down animals from a distance. There's also communal hunting of bison, perhaps using fire to drive a herd towards a cliff or a dead-end canyon, a technique that yields a massive amount of meat at once, but requires immense planning and a bit of luck with the wind. And then there's the humble, yet essential, trapping. Snares made of sinew or rawhide, carefully set along animal runs, can catch Arctic hares, foxes, and ptarmigan. This is often the work of the young, the old, or those left behind at camp, a crucial, less glamorous, but no less important, contribution to the food supply. A successful hunt, whether it brings down a mammoth or a hare, means life. It means fat for energy, meat for strength, bones for tools, and hides for warmth. It is the moment potential energy, stored in the muscles of a giant, is transformed into the kinetic energy of human survival. And as you stand there, breathless, looking at the colossal creature that now represents your future, you understand the true cost of the fire's warmth and the true value of the pointy stick in your hand. After the adrenaline and blood of the hunt fades, a quieter, more constant truth remains. Meat is a lottery win, but plants are your daily bread. While the hunters are off chasing giants, another equally critical drama unfolds, one of subtlety and deep, intimate knowledge. This is the world of the gatherer, a realm where survival is measured not in spear thrusts, but in the recognition of a single leaf, the taste of a particular root, and the patience to harvest what the earth offers, when it doesn't roar, snort, or charge. So, what's on the menu when you're not eating mammoth? The Ice Age steppe is not the barren fridge you might imagine. It's a hardy, resilient supermarket, if you know where to look and what to look for. Your shopping cart is a leather pouch or a woven basket, and your currency is knowledge passed down through generations. Let's start with the staples. Roots and tubers. These are the hidden treasures, the carbohydrates buried safely underground, safe from frost and grazing animals. You seek out the cattail, a plant that is a veritable department store of usefulness. Its roots are starchy and can be pounded into a flour. Its young shoots can be eaten raw, tasting like a faintly muddy cucumber. Its pollen, collected in spring, is a protein-rich yellow dust that can be mixed into cakes. But getting the root requires work. You use a digging stick, a simple, fire-hardened point on a sturdy branch, to lever the frozen or tough earth, your hands aching with the effort, your back bent for hours. It's not glamorous, but a basket full of cattail roots is a basket full of guaranteed calories, a safety net against a failed hunt. Then there are the greens. In the brief, frantic summer, the land erupts with life. You gather sorrel, its leaves tart and lemony, a burst of vitamin C that fights off scurvy. You find wild spinach, chickweed, and the tender shoots of fireweed. These are the fresh flavors, the vitamins and minerals that keep your body functioning, your skin healthy, your wounds healing. They are the solid bar of the steppe, and missing this season means a weaker, more vulnerable winter. Berries are the precious jewels. Crowberries, bilberries, and lingonberries ripen in late summer, creating low, sprawling carpets of purple and red. A day spent berry picking is a good day. Your fingers stain dark purple, and the air is filled with the quiet, repetitive plink, plink, plink of berries hitting your wooden bowl. They can be eaten fresh, a sweet, tangy reward, or dried in the sun, or by the fire to be stored for the lean months, little concentrated bursts of summer, sweetness to remember when the world is white and silent. But gathering isn't just about plants. It's about the tiny, the crunchy, and the six-legged. Insects are a protein-packed snack. A grub dug from under a log is a fatty, if squirmy, morsel. Locusts, if you can catch them, can be roasted over the fire until crisp. Bird eggs are a delicacy, stolen from carefully watched nests in the spring, a rich, creamy treasure. And then there are the nuts. In sheltered river valleys, where trees like hazel can grow, the autumn nut harvest is a vital event. You spend days gathering them, cracking the hard shells with a stone, extracting the rich, oily meat inside. Nuts are portable fat and protein, perfect for travel, for trading, for stashing away. They are the trail mix of the Pleistocene. The tools of the gatherer are simple, but essential. The digging stick is your primary tool, your key to the underworld pantry. A sharp flake of stone serves as a knife for cutting stems, stripping bark, or slicing open roots. Baskets woven from flexible willow branches or reeds are your shopping bags, lightweight and strong. And the most important tool of all, memory, a mental map of the land, updated season by season. You remember the specific patch of berry bush on the south-facing slope that gets the most sun and therefore produces the sweetest fruit. You remember the hazel grove by the bend in the river. You remember where the medicinal plants grow, the yarrow to staunch bleeding, the willow bark to chew for pain relief, the mint to soothe the stomach ache. This knowledge is power. It is the power to heal, to nourish, to survive without ever drawing blood. This work falls largely to the women, the children, and the elders. It is a social activity, a time for conversation, for singing, for teaching the young ones which plants are food and which will make them sick. A child learns by watching, by doing, by being handed a berry and told, "This one." They learn that the fuzzy stem of this plant means don't touch, but the three-lobed leaf of that one means dinner. It is an education in botany, ecology, and pharmacy, all without a single textbook. While the hunt is a burst of violent, collective action, gathering is the slow, steady heartbeat of the community. It is less risky, but no less vital. A bad hunting season could mean lean times. A bad gathering season, a failed berry crop, or a lost root patch could mean starvation. It is the foundation upon which the occasional feast of meat is built. It is the quiet, patient, often overlooked art of living with the land, of listening to its whispers rather than its roars. And as you return to camp at the end of the day, your basket heavy with roots and greens, your knowledge feels as tangible and valuable as any spear. You haven't conquered a giant, but you've convinced the earth to feed you. And in the Ice Age, that is its own kind of magic. From the earthy bounty of the gathered harvest, we turn to another layer of defense against the cold one you wear every waking moment. The clothes on your back are not a fashion statement. They are your personal, portable shelter, a second skin you've wrestled from the very animals that could kill you. In a world where a single gap in your armor can mean frostbite in minutes, getting dressed is the most serious business of the day. So how do you turn a smelly, bloody animal hide into a life-saving garment? With a process that is equal parts chemistry, brute force, and patience that would try a saint. It starts with the raw material. That reindeer or bison hide, fresh from the hunt, is stiff, heavy, and currently hosting a vibrant ecosystem of bacteria that will quickly turn it into a rotten, useless mess if you don't act fast. First, you scrape. Using a stone scraper with a carefully chipped edge, you lay the hide over a log or your knee and begin the grueling work of removing every last bit of flesh and fat from the inside. It's a disgusting, slimy job. Your hands ache, your back protests, and the smell is a unique blend of slaughterhouse and biology lab. But you can't stop. This is the most important step. Any fat left behind will turn rancid and cause the hide to decay. Next comes the hair. Sometimes you want to keep it for insulation. Sometimes you need the smooth leather side for comfort or waterproofing. If you're removing it, you use a different tool or even a solution of animal brains in water, a primitive but astonishingly effective tanning agent that breaks down the proteins and prevents the hide from turning into a stiff board as it dries. Now for the magic, softening. This is where the hide transforms from a stiff plank into supple, flexible leather or warm fur. You stretch it, pull it, work it over a rope or a blunt edge, sometimes even chew it. Yes, chew it. The enzymes in human saliva help break down the fibers. It's a family affair. Everyone who can help does. You sit around the fire, pulling and working the hides, your hands moving in a rhythm born of necessity. It can take days to soften a single large hide. The result, though, is a material you can actually work with, something that can be cut, shaped, and fashioned into something that will keep you alive. Now comes the tailoring. Your needle is a sliver of bone, antler, or ivory, sharpened to a fine point with a hole painstakingly drilled through one end. Your thread is sinew, the long, tough tendons from along an animal's spine. You dry it, pound it to separate the fibers, and then twist them into a strong, durable thread that actually shrinks and tightens when it gets wet, making your seams more secure. You don't have patterns. You have knowledge passed down through generations. You know how to cut the pieces to maximize the hide, how to shape a parka to trap air without restricting movement, how to sew a boot that will keep out moisture. The stitches are small, tight, and incredibly strong. A poorly sewn seam isn't a wardrobe malfunction. It's a potential death sentence. You reinforce high-stress areas with extra layers. You leave the fur side facing in for maximum insulation. You create hoods with ruffs of wolf or wolverine fur, an ingenious design because, unlike human breath, the fur doesn't collect frost from your exhalations and freeze solid against your face. Let's talk about the ensemble. You're wearing layers, Ice Age style. Next to your skin, if you're lucky, might be a soft underlayer of fox or hare fur, its fine hairs trapping a layer of warm air. Over that, the main event, a hooded parka, often made of caribou or reindeer skin. Caribou hair is unique. Each hair is hollow, providing exceptional insulation. This parka is roomy, not tight. The airspace inside is part of the insulation system. Your pants are similarly made of hide, tied at the waist. Your boots are a masterpiece of engineering. They are often made with the leg skins of reindeer, with the fur facing inward, and the knee joint of the animal cleverly used to form the heel of the boot for a better fit. The soles might be made of tougher, hairless sealskin or bear hide for durability, and they are often stuffed with dry grass for extra insulation. A fresh pair of socks every day, just by replacing the grass. You have mittens, not gloves. Fingers together are warmer than fingers apart. They are attached to a long cord that runs through the sleeves of your parka, so you can slip them off to use your hands for a delicate task without dropping and losing them in the snow. But here's the dirty secret of Ice Age fashion. You almost never wash it. Washing your clothes in the middle of winter is a recipe for disaster. A wet parka is a dead weight that will suck the heat from your body in minutes. So the grime builds up. The oils from your skin, the smoke from the fire, the grease from meals, the general dirt of life, it all accumulates into a dark, glossy patina on the inside of your furs. And surprisingly, this is a good thing. That layer of grime actually helps to windproof the garment, clogging the tiny pores in the leather and creating a more effective barrier against the biting wind. You don't just look like you smell. You are strategically, tactically aromatic. It's a small price to pay for not freezing to death. Every stitch, every scrape, every hour spent softening a hide is an investment in your future. When you finally pull on your finished parka and boots, the transformation is immediate. The world outside is still just as cold, just as dangerous. But now, you have a microclimate. You have a bubble of survivable air that moves with you. That parka is more than clothing. It is hours of labor, generations of knowledge, and the very essence of the animals that share your world. It is your shield. And in the Ice Age, putting on your clothes each morning is the first act of war against the cold. From the supple leather of your clothing, we turn to the hard, sharp edges that make everything else possible. Your clothes are your mobile shelter, but your tools are the extensions of your will, the prosthetic limbs of your intelligence that allow you to reshape the world. In your hand, a well-made stone tool isn't just a rock. It's a key. A key that unlocks food, shelter, clothing, and ultimately, the future. So what's in the Ice Age toolkit? Let's open it up. First, the celebrity of the Stone Age, the hand axe. But we're in the Upper Paleolithic now, the height of Neanderthal and early Homo sapiens ingenuity. The classic teardrop-shaped hand axe has evolved. Now we have blades. Long, slender, razor-sharp flakes of stone that are struck from a prepared core. Think of it as the difference between a clumsy kitchen knife and a surgeon's scalpel. Using a technique called pressure flaking, a craftsperson uses an antler tine to press, not strike, tiny flakes off the edge of a blade, refining it to a terrifying sharpness. This isn't bashing rocks together. This is surgery on stone. The craftsperson sits, completely focused, their breath held, applying precise pressure. There's a tiny click as a perfect little flake pops off. They are reading the stone, understanding its hidden geometry, its weaknesses and strengths. It's a silent conversation between human and rock. One wrong move, one misjudged angle of pressure, and the entire piece can shatter. Hours of work, gone. The pressure is immense. But when they succeed, they hold in their hand a thing of lethal beauty. A blade that can slice through hide like it was water, shave wood to a fine point, or butcher an animal with stunning efficiency. But a blade is just the beginning. It's the Swiss Army knife blank of the Pleistocene. Now, you create specialized tools. You take that blade and you blunt one edge by chipping tiny flakes from it. This creates a burin. A burin looks like a tiny stone chisel, and it's one of the most important tools you own. You use it to carve antler, to groove bone, to incise ivory. Without the burin, you don't have spear points hafted to shafts. You don't have needles for sewing clothes. You don't have the famous Venus figurines or the cave art at Lascaux. The burin is the tool that lets you write on the world, to leave your mark beyond mere survival. Then there are the scrapers. Round, durable edges perfect for, you guessed it, scraping. Scraping hides to clean them, scraping wood to shape it, scraping meat from bones. There are gravers for etching fine lines, and awls for punching holes in leather. Each tool has a purpose, a specific job in the daily drama of staying alive. And they are not disposable. A good tool is cared for, resharpened, reused until it is nothing but a tiny nub of stone, its useful life completely spent. Nothing is wasted, but the toolkit isn't just stone. It's a symphony of materials. You have bone needles, so fine and sharp they could rival modern steel. You have antler, tough and resilient, used for making the points of spears, the hammers for knapping stone, the picks for digging. You have ivory from mammoths, a precious, beautiful material, carved into jewelry, spear throwers, and mystical objects. And you have wood. So much of the technology is wood, and almost none of it survives in the archaeological record. We have to imagine it. The spear shafts, the digging sticks, the handles for tools, the frames for shelters, the bowls, the cups. The woodsmith is as important as the flint knapper. They know which wood is strong but flexible for a spear, which is soft and easy to carve for a bowl, which is dense and heavy for a club. And there's the glue. Yes, glue. The invention of composite tools, putting a stone point on a wooden shaft is one of the greatest leaps in human history. And it requires glue. You make it from birch bark. You heat the bark in a fire in an oxygen-free container, often an animal skin pit covered with earth, and it undergoes a chemical transformation, turning into a black, sticky, waterproof tar. This process, known as dry distillation, is a form of chemistry. It's not an accident. It's applied science. You use this tar, mixed with sinew and tight wrapping, to fix a stone point to its shaft. The result is a weapon that is stronger, more lethal, and more reliable than anything that came before. The moment that glue holds, you have transcended the limitations of a single material. And we can't forget the atlaval, the spear thrower. It may be made of wood or antler, often beautifully carved. It is a tool that understands physics. It leverages your body's strength, multiplying the force of your throw. It is the first machine that truly extends human capability in a dramatic way. To hold an atlaval is to feel power humming in your grip. Making these tools is a social activity. The flint knapper is a revered figure, their knowledge a form of magic. Others gather the materials, the right stones from miles away, the antlers, the bones, the birch bark. Children watch, learning the rhythms and the secrets. The sound of stone knapping is the sound of progress, a sound of a mind imposing its order on a chaotic world. Each tool is a story. This blade fed a family. This needle clothed a child. This spear defended the group. They are not just objects. They are fossilized intelligence. They are the physical proof that the most powerful survival tool in the Ice Age wasn't a weapon or a shelter, but the clever, restless, endlessly inventive human mind that could look at a lump of flint and see a future. From the solitary focus of tool-making, we step back to see the larger picture, the living, breathing network that gives those tools purpose. Your finely crafted spear is useless without the hunter who wields it. Your warm clothing meaningless without the people who share your fire. In the Ice Age, the individual is a spark, but the community is the fire that keeps that spark alive. Survival is not a solo sport. It is a team effort where every player has a position, and the penalty for dropping the ball is extinction. So how does this team function? Let's meet the starting lineup. At the heart of everything is the clan, your extended family, maybe 25 to 50 people bound by blood, shared experience, and the desperate need to not die alone. This is your whole world. Your social security, your healthcare, your defense force, and your dating pool. Sorry, options are limited. Within this clan, roles are designed by resume. They are forged by necessity, ability, and the brutal logic of survival. The strongest and most skilled with a spear become the hunters. But this isn't a role of glory. It's a role of responsibility. They carry the hope of the entire group on their shoulders every time they leave camp. Their success means feasts. Their failure means hungry children and weakening elders. The pressure is immense. Then there are the gatherers, often the women, whose deep, intimate knowledge of the land provides the steady, reliable calories between big hunts. They are the botanists, the ecologists, the pharmacists. An elder who can no longer run, but whose eyes are sharp, might be the chief scout, reading tracks and weather signs with uncanny accuracy. The master toolmaker, the one with the magical hands that can conjure a razor edge from a lump of flint, is as vital as any hunter. Their craft keeps everyone armed, clothed, and equipped. Children are not idle. From the time they can walk, they are little apprentices, fetching water, gathering kindling, watching, and learning. By age 10, they know how to set a snare, which berries to pick, and how to strike a spark. There are no childhoods of pure play. There is only training for life. And the elders. In a world where life is often short, those who survive to old age are not burdens. They are the living libraries. They are the ones who remember the great mammoth hunt of 10 winters past and where the herd crossed the river. They remember the long winter when the snows didn't melt, and what the clan did to survive. They remembered the stories, the myths, the rhythms of the stars, and the migrations of the animals. Their wrinkled faces are maps of experience, and their wisdom is the clan's institutional memory. Losing an elder isn't just losing a grandparent. It's like losing a book from the only library in the world. Decision-making is a collective, messy, and urgent process. There is no single chief barking orders. There is a constant, low hum of discussion around the fire. The master hunter might have the final say on a hunting strategy. The oldest woman might decide when it's time to move camp based on the depletion of local resources. It's a fluid hierarchy based on respect and proven competence, not birthright. A bad idea is challenged quickly because a bad idea can get people killed. The debate might be loud, full of gestures and passionate arguments. But once a decision is made, the clan acts as one. Dissent isn't tolerated when a mammoth is charging. Unity is survival. This interdependence creates bonds that are thicker than blood. You don't just live with these people. You owe them your life. The woman who shared her portion of dried meat with you when you were sick. The man who pulled you from a freezing stream. The child who spotted the wolf lurking in the twilight. These are the debts that are never forgotten. The ties that bind you together into a single organism. You know every face, every cough in the night, every strength, and every weakness. There is no privacy, but there is also no loneliness. The sound of the clan is the background noise of your life, the murmuring voices, the crying babies, the laughter that erupts after a tense day, the shared songs that rise into the cold night air. This community is also your only defense. Against predators, against rival clans, against the sheer, soul-crushing isolation of the frozen landscape. A lone human is a snack. A group of humans, coordinated and armed, is a force to be reckoned with. At night, you sleep in shifts, knowing that others are awake, watching the darkness, tending the fire that says to all the world, "We are here. We are together. Stay away." The weight of this community is also its burden. You cannot be selfish. The food you bring back is not yours alone. It is shared. The hide you prepare might clothe someone else's child. Your personal desires are secondary to the group's needs. The pressure to conform, to contribute, to never let the side down is immense. The fear of ostracization is the fear of death. To be cast out from the clan is a sentence of starvation, exposure, or predation. It is the ultimate punishment. So you learn to share everything: space, food, warmth, sickness, joy, grief. Your identity is not I, it is we. The clan is the vessel carrying your genes, your knowledge, and your culture through the endless winter. It is a noisy, smelly, complicated, and often frustrating family. But it is your family. And in the biting cold of the Ice Age, huddled together for warmth, that collective breath is the warmest thing in the world. From the tight-knit security of the clan, we now face the unsettling truth. No home is forever in the Ice Age. The very land that feeds you can turn against you in a season. The familiar grazing grounds empty. The berry patches fail. The weather patterns shift. And when that happens, your community must become a moving village. You must pack your entire world onto your back and walk into the unknown, following the ghost of a rumor and the memory of an elder's story. Migration isn't an adventure. It's a calculated, desperate gamble with the lives of everyone you love. So how do you know when it's time to go? The signs are subtle at first, then undeniable. The reindeer herds are thinner this year, their migration routes shifting. The mammoth bones you find are older, more weathered. The sun feels weaker, the winters longer, the permafrost creeping further south. Or perhaps a sudden disaster strikes, a landslide that blocks your water source, a wildfire that scorches your hunting grounds, pressure from a rival group. The decision is made around the fire. Voice is low and serious. The elders speak of a place they remember from their youth. A valley a moon has traveled to the south, where the rivers run fat with fish, and the mammoths still gather. Their words are your map. Their fading memories are your GPS. There is no other guide. Now comes the great packing. You are leaving your shelter, the bone hut or pit house that took weeks of backbreaking labor to build. You take only what you can carry. This is the ultimate test of what matters. The heavy grinding stones? Left behind. The larger hides? Left behind. You become brutal minimalists. Every ounce counts. You keep the essential tools, the fine blades, the burins, the precious needles. You keep the atlatls and a few of the best spears. You pack the dried meat and fish, the precious cakes of rendered fat sealed in bladders, the dried berries and roots, your lifeboat rations for the journey. The children carry their own small packs. The elderly carry what they can. Infants are swaddled tightly against their mothers' chests. What you are carrying isn't just supplies. You are carrying the seed of your community, the hope of a future, distilled into a few leather bags and bundles. The first day of the march is the hardest. You leave behind the rock formation that looked like a sleeping bear, the stream where the children played. You walk in a loose column, the strongest hunters at the front and rear, scouts ranging ahead, the main body of the clan in the middle. The sound is the crunch of feet on frozen ground, the occasional cry of a child, the lowing of a domesticated dog if you have them, the relentless wind. You walk, and you walk. There are no paths. You are the path. You navigate by the sun, by the stars, by the flow of the rivers, by the stories in the elders' minds. A wrong turn could mean walking into a territory with no game, or into the path of a glacier, or into the lands of a hostile group. The land itself is a challenge. You cross vast, open steppe where the wind whips unabated, stealing your breath and your warmth. You navigate through fields of glacial rubble, jagged rocks that twist ankles and shred your footwear. You ford icy rivers, the water so cold it feels like 1,000 knives, the current threatening to sweep away the weak and the young. You help each other across, forming human chains, your bodies trembling violently once you reach the other side. At night, you don't build a mammoth bone hut. You build a temporary lean-to, a windbreak of snow and branches, and you huddle together for warmth, a single shivering organism under the stars. The fire you build is small, frugal, just enough to warm a little water and provide a psychological barrier against the dark. You are hyper-aware of everything. The sight of a distant raven circling could mean a carcass, and therefore food, or a predator, and therefore danger. The smell on the wind could be rain or snow, or the scent of a pine forest that means shelter and better hunting. You are reading a landscape that is constantly changing, your senses stretched to their limit. Every decision is life or death. Do we follow this river? Do we cross this mountain pass? Is that movement in the distance a herd of horses or a pack of wolves? And then there are the moments of pure magic. The day you crest a ridge and see the new valley spread out below you, just as the elder described. The grass is greener, the river is wider. You see the fresh tracks of a large herd. The relief is a physical thing, a weight lifting from your shoulders so profound you might weep. You have made it. The gamble has paid off, for now. This is how humanity conquered the globe. Not in a single heroic journey, but in these countless, grueling, generation-long treks. From Africa into Europe, across the vast Bering Land Bridge into the Americas, always moving, always adapting, always following the food and fleeing the ice. Each migration was a story of loss and hope, of leaving a home and making a new one. The map of the human world was drawn not by kings and conquerors, but by the footprints of families, walking one painful, courageous step at a time into the freezing wind, carrying the future on their backs. From the relentless physical grind of migration we now descend into the silent, profound depths of the earth. After days of walking across blinding white steppes under an endless sky, you push aside a curtain of ivy and enter another world. The air is still and damp, the only sound the drip, drip of water echoing in the immense darkness. You are not here for shelter. You are not here for food. You are here to perform a different kind of magic. You are here to create. In the deepest, most inaccessible chambers of caves like Lascaux or Chauvet, survival takes on a new meaning. It's no longer just about preserving the body, but about feeding the soul. So why here? Why risk the treacherous climb, the narrow passages, the total blackness, to paint where almost no one will ever see it? This isn't a gallery. This is a sanctuary. The act of painting is not a hobby. It is a ritual, a ceremony, a desperate and beautiful attempt to touch the essence of the world. The animals you paint are not just food, they are powerful spirits. By capturing their likeness on the living rock, you are capturing a piece of their power. You are asserting a relationship. You are saying, we see you, we respect you, we need you. This is sympathetic magic. Paint the bison with arrows in its side, and perhaps the real bison will be easier to hunt. Paint the horses running, full of life, and perhaps the herds will remain strong. You are not just drawing what you see. You are drawing what you hope will happen. Now, let's look at the studio. Your palette is the earth itself. You have ochre, iron-rich clay that gives you a spectrum from sunny yellow to deep blood red. You have manganese dioxide for black, charcoal for a softer black. You grind these minerals on a stone palette, mixing them with animal fat, water, or even urine to create paint. Your brushes are chewed twigs, bundles of animal hair, or even your own fingers. For spraying paint, you use a hollow bone, blowing the pigment over your hand to create stencils, the oldest selfies in history, a permanent record of a human hand saying, I was here. The light comes from simple stone lamps, shallow dishes filled with animal fat, with a moss wick that casts a flickering, dancing light. This is how you work. In this pulsating bubble of light, surrounded by a sea of absolute black, the animals seem to come alive on the walls. The flickering flame makes the horse's legs twitch, the bison's shoulders ripple. It is terrifying and awe-inspiring. You are not just painting on the wall. You are summoning from it. And the art itself is staggering. This isn't primitive doodling. This is mastery. The artists understand perspective, movement, anatomy. They use the natural contours of the rock to give their animals dimension. A bulge in the stone becomes a bison's powerful shoulder. The lines are confident, fluid, alive. They paint mammoths with their characteristic high domes and long curved tusks. They paint charging aurochs, all muscle and fury. They paint graceful deer, their antlers a complex forest of lines. They are not just recording nature, they are interpreting it, capturing its spirit. And sometimes they paint creatures that are part human, part beast, a shaman, perhaps transforming, bridging the world of people and the world of animals. This art is the evidence of a rich inner world, a complex mythology buzzing inside those cold, practical skulls. But art isn't confined to the deep caves. It is portable. It is personal. You carve. You take a piece of reindeer antler, and with your burin, you incise an image of a grazing horse, its lines so fine and sure they seem to have been drawn by a single breath. You create the famous Venus figurines, small, palm-sized statues of women with exaggerated breasts, bellies, and hips. These are not pornographic. They are powerful symbols of fertility, of life, of the hope that the clan itself will continue. In a world where death is a constant companion, these figures scream the promise of birth. They are prayers in ivory and stone. You make beads from animal teeth, shells from distant seas, and polished amber, stringing them into necklaces. This is identity. This is beauty for beauty's sake. This is the undeniable proof that even in the fight for survival, humans need more than just food and warmth. We need to make meaning. And then there is music. You take the wing bone of a swan or a vulture, and you carefully drill holes into it. You have just made a flute, the oldest known musical instrument. You put it to your lips and blow. The sound that comes out is clear, haunting, and beautiful. It is a sound that has no practical purpose in the hunt or the gathering. Its purpose is to stir the heart. Around the fire, someone beats a rhythm on a stretched hide. Another plays the flute. Someone sings, a wordless melody that rises and falls with the crackling of the flames. This is community. This is joy. This is sorrow. This is the expression of everything that cannot be said with words. In that moment, you are not just surviving the Ice Age. You are transcending it. The time and calories spent on this, grinding the pigments, carving the antler, practicing the flute, are immense. In a purely practical sense, it's a waste. But in a human sense, it is everything. This urge to create is as fundamental as the urge to eat. It is what separates you from the mammoths and the lions. They simply live. You need to understand why you live. You need to leave a mark, to shout into the silence. We were here. We felt wonder. We felt fear. We were alive. The art on the walls, the figurine in your hand, the note from the flute, these are not luxuries. They are the tools you use to build a world worth surviving for. From the soul-stirring heights of art and music, we return to the frail, aching reality of the body. In the Ice Age, your health is your most volatile asset. A simple cough can spiral into a death rattle. A small cut can become a gateway for infection that claims a limb or a life. There are no hospitals, no pharmacies, no doctors in white coats. There is only the healer part botanist, part chemist, part priest, and the desperate, collective will of the clan to keep every spark of life burning. So what threatens you? The list is long and merciless. Let's start with trauma. A fall while hunting a reindeer could mean a broken leg. A confrontation with a woolly rhino could mean goring wounds that leave you in shreds. A slip on an icy riverbank could mean a cracked skull. There are no casts, no stitches in the modern sense. A broken limb is set with wooden splints and bound tightly with leather straps. You pray, it knits straight. For a deep gash, the healer might use a sharpened bone needle and sinew thread to pull the flesh together. But without antiseptics, infection is almost a guarantee. They might then pack the wound with a poultice of honey, a natural antibacterial and moldy bread, which contains early forms of penicillin, though they don't know it by that name. They know it works, sometimes. That's enough. Then there are the illnesses you can't see. Respiratory infections are constant. Living in smoky, crowded shelters, breathing air so cold it hurts your lungs, you are always coughing. A chest cold can easily become pneumonia, and pneumonia is often a death sentence. There are gastrointestinal bugs from contaminated water or spoiled food, causing debilitating diarrhea that dehydrates and weakens you in a matter of days. There are parasitic worms. There is tetanus from a dirty wound, locking your jaw and arching your back in agonizing spasms until you suffocate. And always, there is the slow, insidious drain of malnutrition, especially in late winter when stores run low, leaving you vulnerable to everything else. Your apothecary is the land itself. The healer, often an elder who has survived these very ailments, possesses a vast knowledge of plants. They know that willow bark, chewed or brewed into a tea, can reduce fever and ease pain. It contains salicin, the natural precursor to aspirin. They know that yarrow, its leaves crushed and packed into a wound, can help staunch the bleeding. They know that mint can soothe a troubled stomach. This knowledge is sacred, passed down in whispers, a greater treasure than any spear point. But it's not just plants. They use spider webs to cover cuts, a natural bandage that helps clot blood. They use leeches, perhaps believing they can balance the body's humors. They use cold water and snow to reduce swelling. It's a mix of brilliant observational science and sympathetic magic, because when you're that close to the edge, you use every tool you have, seen and unseen. And the unseen is where the shaman comes in, because sometimes the body's sickness is believed to be a sickness of the spirit, a curse from an enemy, the displeasure of an animal spirit, a soul that has wandered too far from the body. The healer and the shaman are often the same person. The healing ritual is a performance, a desperate drama to restore balance. They might don a mask and a cloak of animal skins, shaking a rattle made of a gourd filled with pebbles or teeth. They dance around you, chanting, calling upon the spirits of the bear for strength, the wolf for endurance, the mammoth for resilience. They might suck on your chest or limb, pretending to draw out the evil spirit causing the pain. To our modern eyes, it seems like superstition. But to the sick person, to the family watching, it is hope. It is action. The placebo effect is a powerful medicine, and the belief that you will be healed can sometimes be enough to tip the scales. Dental health is a special kind of nightmare. Remember all that grit in the bread from the grinding stones? It acts like sandpaper on your teeth, wearing them down to the nerve by the time you're in your 20s. A toothache is a constant, throbbing agony that can drive you mad. There are no fillings, no root canals. Your options are grim. You can endure it, which can lead to abscesses that poison your blood. You can have someone try to pull it, a horrific ordeal with crude stone or bone pincers that often breaks the jaw or leaves a fragment behind to fester. Or you can die from the infection. This is the brutal calculus of a toothache. Childbirth is the ultimate trial by fire for a woman and the entire clan. There are no sterile environments, no emergency C-sections. The mother squats, supported by other women, while a midwife, the most experienced mother, coaches and assists. They might use herbal teas to ease the pain or speed the labor. The risks are astronomical. Prolonged labor, hemorrhage, infection, a breech birth, any of these could be fatal for both mother and child. The death of a woman of childbearing age is a catastrophic loss for the clan, not just emotionally, but practically. She is a gatherer, a toolmaker, a future elder. Her survival is paramount. And through it all, the clan is the ultimate medicine. They will feed you when you cannot feed yourself. They will keep you warm when you are too weak to shiver. They will carry you when you cannot walk. They will tell you stories to keep your spirit from fading. Your survival is their survival. The line between healer and patient, between the well and the sick, is blurred. Health is a communal project. A successful healing is a victory for everyone. A death is a wound in the body of the clan itself. In the end, against the cold and the germs and the accidents, your best medicine is the people huddled around you, sharing their warmth, their food, and their stubborn, unbreakable will to see you live. From the intimate vulnerabilities of the sickbed, we step back into the wider world where danger doesn't creep in with a fever, but charges with bared teeth and thunderous footsteps. Your health is fragile, but the world outside your fire's glow is actively hostile. Every shadow beyond the light holds a set of eyes. Every rustle in the grass carries intent. In the Ice Age, you are never at the top of the food chain. You are on the menu, and the restaurant is always open. So let's meet the waitstaff. We've already introduced the headline acts, the cave lions, the scimitar cats, the wolves. But the danger isn't just in the dramatic confrontation. It's in the constant, low-grade anxiety of being watched. It's the feeling you get when you're gathering berries alone, and the birds suddenly go silent. That's not nothing. That's everything. A pack of wolves isn't just a few dogs. It is a coordinated hunting unit with a complex language of yips and howls that can surround and disorient you. They test the weak, the isolated, the straggler. And they are patient. They can follow your clan for days, waiting for someone to fall behind, for a child to wander just a few steps too far. Their strategy is exhaustion and opportunity. Your strategy is to never, ever give them that opportunity. Then there are the bears. The cave bear, Ursus spelaeus, is a monster. Bigger than a Kodiak, it has a shaggy mountain of muscle and bad temper that thinks nothing of claiming the best caves for its hibernation. Accidentally stumbling into a cave occupied by a groggy, just-woken cave bear is a shortcut to the afterlife. But even the smaller, still deadly brown bears are a constant threat. They want your food, they want your shelter, and they are strong enough to take it. A bear encounter isn't a hunt, it's a demolition. It will tear through your lean-to, scatter your belongings, and if you're in the way, it will swat you aside like a fly. The only defense is fire, noise, and numbers. A lone human is a snack. A group of humans shouting, waving torches, and banging spears on shields is a confusing, frightening nuisance that a bear might decide isn't worth the trouble. Might. But the predators you can see are only half the battle. The real terror often comes from what you can't see. The parasites. The worms that live in the water, and the undercooked meat, burrowing into your skin, your guts, your liver. There's no deworming medicine. You live with them, or you die from them. There are ticks that carry diseases that will burn through your body with fever. There are the microscopic killers in stagnant water or in the soil, waiting for a cut to become infected. These are the silent, invisible hunters that don't roar, but kill just as dead. Then there's the environment itself. The land is trying to kill you in 100 different ways. Hypothermia is the ever-present thief, waiting to steal your body heat the moment you stop moving, the moment your fire dies, the moment your clothes get wet. Frostbite is a creeping sculptor, turning your fingers, your toes, your nose, your ears into black, dead things that will eventually just fall off. A simple blizzard isn't just bad weather. It's a white wall of disorientation that can separate you from your clan in seconds. You can be 10 feet from your shelter and not see it, walking in circles until you collapse from exhaustion. The cold doesn't fight fair, and the ground beneath your feet is treacherous, thin ice over a river that looks solid. A hidden crevasse in a glacier, a blue-lipped smile waiting to swallow you whole. A loose rock on a scree slope that sends you tumbling down a mountainside. There are no rescue teams. A broken ankle miles from camp is a death sentence. The world is one giant, beautiful, lethal obstacle course. So how do you navigate this gauntlet? With hypervigilance. Your senses are always dialed to 11. You don't just look. You scan. You don't just listen. You decipher. You learn the difference between the wind in the pines and the sound of something large moving through those pines. You learn to read the body language of the other animals. If the grazing herds suddenly become alert and tense, you become alert and tense. They are your early warning system. You travel in groups always. You post lookouts at night, their eyes straining against the darkness, their ears tuned to the slightest break in the night's rhythm. You keep the fire high and bright, because almost every predator fears fire. It is your shield, your beacon, your declaration that this little patch of darkness belongs to you. You also use your brain as your best weapon. You don't challenge a cave lion to a fair fight. You avoid. You deter. You use your knowledge of the land to steer clear of known dens and territories. You make your camps in defensible locations on rises with good visibility, with a rock face at your back so you can't be surrounded. You bury your food waste far from camp to avoid attracting scavengers that might bring bigger predators. Every decision, from where you pee to where you sleep, is filtered through this calculus of risk. Living with this constant background hum of danger does something to you. It sharpens your instincts. It forges a kind of primal awareness that modern life has largely dulled. You develop a sixth sense for when something is wrong. That knot in your stomach, that prickle on the back of your neck, You learn to trust it without question. Because in the Ice Age, paranoia isn't a mental illness. It's a survival skill. The world is full of teeth, and you are made of soft, breakable things. Your only advantage is that clever, fearful, endlessly resourceful brain, screaming at you to stay alert, stay together, and stay alive. From the constant external threats of predators and environment, we turn inward to the most precious and vulnerable members of the clan, the children. In a world of tusks and teeth, a child's laughter is both the most beautiful sound and the most terrifying responsibility. Raising the next generation isn't about playdates and picture books. It's a high-stakes training program where the final exam is survival itself, and failure is not an option. So what does childhood look like in the Ice Age? It's short, practical, and completely integrated into the brutal workflow of existence. From the moment you can walk, you have a job. There are no idle hands. There is no concept of childhood as a separate, protected state. You are a tiny, trainee human, and the curriculum is everything. Your first lessons are tactile, immediate. Don't touch the fire. That berry is good. This one makes you sick. Stay within sight of the camp. The world is a classroom of cause and effect, and the punishments are swift and unforgiving. A single mistake wandering too far, touching the wrong plant, startling the wrong animal, can be your last lesson. Your toys are the tools of survival. You don't have stuffed animals. You have a small, blunt practice spear and a miniature digging stick. You play at hunting, stalking grasshoppers, or throwing your spear at a painted mark on a log. You play at gathering, filling a tiny leather pouch with pebbles that represent berries. This isn't just play. This is neural wiring. This is muscle memory in the making. Your little hands are learning the heft of a spear, the angle of a throw, the rhythm of digging, long before your life depends on it. You follow your mother, aunt, or older sibling as they gather, your eyes learning to distinguish the shape of an edible root leaf from the thousands of other plants. You are a sponge, absorbing the map of the land, the seasons, the smells, the sounds. The education is relentless and multisensory. You learn the different bird calls and what they mean: alarm, mating, the presence of a predator. You learn to identify animal tracks in the mud or snow, not as an academic exercise, but as crucial information. Is it a reindeer, which means food? Or is it a wolf, which means danger? You learn by listening to the stories told around the fire knot, fairy tales, but vital histories. The story of the great mammoth hunt, the story of the long migration, the story of the winter someone got lost, and how they found their way back. These stories are data. They are survival manuals told in narrative form. But it's not all grim training. There is joy. There is the simple pleasure of a game of tag, of wrestling with the other children in the dry grass. There is the wonder of finding a bird's nest with eggs, the thrill of seeing your first cave painting, the comfort of being carried on your father's shoulders during a migration. The clan is your extended family, and every adult is your parent, every older child your guardian. You are never alone. If you fall, a dozen hands reach for you. If you cry, a dozen voices comfort you. This communal upbringing creates bonds that are iron-strong. Your playmates are your future hunting partners, the people who will one day watch your back in a life-or-death situation. You learn to share everything, to read each other's moods, to cooperate instinctively. The transition from child to contributing member is gradual but swift. By age 6 or 7, you are a real help fetching water, gathering firewood, tending the fire, watching the toddlers. By 10, you are setting snares for small game. You can probably nap a simple cutting tool, and you know a dozen plants by heart. Adolescence isn't a time of rebellion and identity crisis. It's an apprenticeship. You now join the adults on gathering trips. You carry a real spear on hunts for smaller game. You help build shelters. Your body is tested every day. Your knowledge is constantly questioned and refined. There is no room for error. A poorly tied knot can mean a lost catch. A misidentified track can lead the hunters on a wasted day's journey. The pressure to perform, to contribute your share to the clan's larder, is immense. And the dangers are ever present. Childhood illnesses that would be minor today can be fatal. A simple cut can fester. A fall that would result in a scuffed knee in a modern playground could mean a broken bone that never heals properly, marking you for life as less capable, a potential burden. The clan loves its children fiercely, but it also cannot afford to carry those who cannot pull their weight. It is a harsh truth, written into the DNA of their survival. The love is real, but it is a practical love, tempered by the relentless arithmetic of calories and safety. Yet, within this harsh framework, there is evidence of profound care. Archaeological finds show children buried with grave goods, beads, tools, small carvings. This isn't done for a burden. This is done for a beloved member of the community, a soul whose potential was lost. It shows that children were valued, their lives mattered, their loss was mourned deeply. They were the future, and every child that survived to adulthood was a victory against the cold, against the hunger, against the odds. Raising a child in the Ice Age is the ultimate act of faith. It is believing that there will be a tomorrow worth living for, that the mammoths will return, that the sun will grow strong again. It is pouring all your knowledge, all your strength, all your hope into these small, fragile beings, trusting that they will be clever enough, strong enough, and lucky enough to continue the story. In the end, the most important survival tool isn't the spear or the fire. It's the child learning to use them, ensuring that the flame of humanity, against all odds, keeps burning. From the focused education of children, we arrive at the foundation of all that learning, communication. In the Ice Age, your life depends on a conversation you're having right now without making a sound. Language as we know it is still evolving, a new and clumsy tool. But communication? That is ancient, sophisticated, and happening every second. In a world where a single shouted warning can bring a predator down on you, the most important messages are often the silent ones. So how do you hold a council meeting when words are still limited? How do you coordinate a mammoth hunt across a windy plain? You speak with your body. Your entire existence becomes a performance of subtle signals. A hunter crouches, one hand held low, palm flat stop. He points two fingers at his eyes, then gestures toward a distant movement. I see something. Another hunter nods, tapping his spear shaft, twice against his leg understood, ready. This isn't charades. This is a refined life or death sign language that every member of the clan understands instinctively. A tilted head, the direction of a gaze, the tension in someone's shoulders. These are all sentences. You are reading the weather on the faces of the people around you. The sounds you do make are carefully curated. On the hunt, your vocabulary is a series of clicks, grunts, and low whistles that mimic the natural sounds of the environment. A specific bird call might mean circle left. A soft hoot might mean hold position. These are not words with dictionary definitions. They are commands, immediate and unambiguous. They carry on the wind without betraying your position, as human voices would. Back at camp, the sounds are different. The rhythm of someone napping stone-fast, confident strikes versus slow, frustrated taps tells you about their mood and success without ever looking. The quality of a cough from across the shelter tells you who is sick and how badly. Then there is touch. In the constant, skin-to-skin existence of the clan, touch is a rich language. A hand on a shoulder can mean, I'm here, or be careful, or thank you, depending on the pressure and duration. A nudge from an elder might correct a child's grip on a tool. During a tense moment, the simple act of standing shoulder to shoulder with your clansmen is a conversation in itself. It says, we are together in this. We are one. In the dark of the shelter, you don't need to see to know who is who. You recognize the feel of a familiar hand, the sound of a specific breathing pattern. Your world is built on this intimate physical literacy. But communication isn't just for the immediate moment. It's for the future. This is where art becomes language. The cave paintings are not just pretty pictures. They are a database, a library, a map. The image of a mammoth with a specific marking on its shoulder might indicate a particular herd or a good hunting ground. A series of dots painted near the entrance of a cave might be a calendar, marking the phases of the moon or the migration of the reindeer. The hand stencils are signatures. I, with this unique hand, was here. I witnessed this. It is a way of speaking across time, of leaving a message for those who will come after you, or for yourself when you return to this sacred place next season. The art is a permanent, shared memory for the entire clan, a story that doesn't fade with the death of the storyteller. Storytelling around the fire is the most advanced form of communication you have. It is where language is being forged. The storyteller, often an elder, doesn't just speak. They perform. They use their whole body. They become the charging mammoth, stamping and swaying. They become the cunning wolf, slinking low. They use vocal sounds to imitate the rush of the wind, the crack of ice, the trumpet of the hunt. The story of the Great Migration isn't told. It is relived. The children watch, mesmerized, their brains absorbing not just the facts of the story, but the emotion, the rhythm, the lessons embedded within it. This is how culture is transmitted. This is how the knowledge of which plants are poisonous, which paths are safe, which spirits are benevolent, is passed down. The story is the textbook, the law, and the scripture, all woven together in the flickering firelight. The shaman takes this a step further. Their communication is with the unseen world. Through drumming, chanting, and dance, they enter a trance, becoming a conduit. They speak for the animal spirits, for the ancestors, for the forces of nature. When the shaman wears the hide and antlers of a stag and dances, the clan doesn't see a person. They see the spirit of the stag, communicating its secrets, its power, its demands. This is the most powerful form of communication of all, because it shapes reality. It dictates when to move camp, when to hunt, how to heal the sick. It gives meaning to the random, terrifying events of the world. In the end, every grunt, every gesture, every painted line, every beat of the drum is part of a single continuous conversation, the conversation between humans and their world. It is a conversation about danger and opportunity, about memory and hope, about the simple, desperate need to be understood. You might not have the words for future or love or fear, but you have a hand to hold, a story to tell, and a shared gaze across a fire that says everything that needs to be said. In the silence of the Ice Age, the most human thing you can do is find a way to say, "I am here. Are you with me?" From the silent language of gestures and the stories told around the fire, we now venture into the most profound conversation of all, the one with the unseen. In a world where the wind has a voice and the stars are watching eyes, survival isn't just a physical battle. It's a spiritual negotiation. You don't just live in the Ice Age. You are in constant dialogue with it, pleading, thanking, and seeking meaning in the brutal, beautiful chaos. So what do you believe? The world is alive. Every rock, river, animal, and gust of wind possesses a spirit, a consciousness. That mammoth you hunt isn't just meat. It's a powerful being. You must kill it to live, but you must also honor it, or its spirit will abandon your people and the herds will vanish. This isn't superstition. It's ecology understood through a sacred lens. The relationship is reciprocal. You take a life, you offer respect in return. This is the core of your spirituality, a vast animistic web of connection where humanity is just one thread, not the weaver. The evidence of this belief is everywhere in how you live. Before a hunt, there are rituals. The spear points might be anointed with red ochre, the color of blood and life. The hunters might fast, or paint their bodies with symbols of the animal they seek, trying to blur the line between human and prey to convince the animal's spirit to offer itself willingly. The shaman, face-painted, wearing a headdress of antlers and bare teeth, leads the ceremony. They dance, they shake a rattle, they chant, their voice rising and falling like the wind. They are not performing for an audience. They are negotiating. They are entering a trance, a bridge between the world of the clan and the spirit world, to ask for success, to learn where the herds are, to ensure the great balance is maintained. When the hunt is successful, the rituals continue. The killing of a mammoth isn't followed by cheers, but by a somber reverence. You approach the massive body with care. You might place a piece of its own flesh in its mouth, a symbolic returning of its spirit. You might speak to it, thanking it for its sacrifice, promising to use every part of its body so its life was not given in vain. The skull, especially, might be treated with special care, placed in a position of honor, perhaps forming the foundation of your next home, so its protective spirit watches over you. Nothing is wasted, because to waste is the ultimate insult to the spirit that gave itself to you. But the spirits aren't just in the animals. They are in the landscape. That particular lightning-struck tree is sacred. That spring that never freezes is the home of a water spirit. That mountain pass where the wind always howls is a place of powerful, potentially dangerous energies. You leave offerings at these places, a beautifully carved bead, a piece of food, a splash of blood. You are paying rent. You are acknowledging that you are a guest in a world full of older, more powerful residents. And there are the ancestors. They are not gone. They have just moved to another part of the same world. Their spirits watch over the clan. Their wisdom is sought in dreams and visions. Burial practices show this deep belief. A body isn't just discarded. It is prepared for a journey. The deceased might be curled into a fetal position, as if ready for rebirth. They are painted with red ochre, the color of life, perhaps to revitalize them in the next world. They are buried with grave goods tools, weapons, jewelry, food. This isn't sentimentality. This is practical packing for the afterlife. They will need these things. They are still part of the clan, just on a different plane of existence. To forget an ancestor, to fail to leave an offering, is to risk their displeasure, which could manifest as a failed hunt or a sudden sickness. The shaman is the central figure in the spiritual ecosystem. They are the doctor, the historian, the meteorologist, and the theologian. They interpret dreams, which are seen as messages from the spirit world. They go on vision quests, often aided by fatigue, hunger, or perhaps even psychoactive plants, to travel to the other side and bring back knowledge. When a child is sick, the shaman doesn't just administer herbs. They perform soul retrieval, believing the child's spirit has wandered off or been stolen, and they must journey to find it and bring it back. Their authority doesn't come from physical strength, but from their perceived connection to the forces that govern every aspect of life. This spiritual framework isn't a comfort blanket. It's an operating system. It explains the unexplainable. Why did the mammoth herd change its path? The spirits were angered. Why did a healthy hunter suddenly die from a fall? An ancestor needed a strong companion. It creates order from chaos. It gives you a script to follow when things go wrong, and a ritual to perform when things go right. It binds the clan together with shared beliefs and shared fears. Your faith is as essential as your spear, because when you are facing a blizzard with an empty stomach, believing that the mammoth spirit you honored last season might guide one to you tomorrow is the only thing that keeps you putting one foot in front of the other. It is the courage to hope in a world made of ice. From the spiritual realm where you bargain with spirits, we return to the most grounded of earthly concerns, your stomach. A successful mammoth hunt is a tidal wave of fortune, but a tide that recedes all too quickly. That mountain of meat will rot in days, swarmed by flies, and filling the air with the sweet, sickly smell of decay. Gorging yourself now means nothing if you're starving in a month. So you must perform your own kind of magic. You must stop time. You must convince food not to spoil. Welcome to the Ice Age's original pantry. Your first and most powerful ally is the cold itself. The world is your freezer. During the deep winter, this is easy. You simply leave cuts of meat outside, where they freeze solid, preserved in an icy tomb. But winter doesn't last forever. The real challenge comes during the warmer months, the fleeting summer and autumn, when temperatures climb just enough to be dangerous. This is when you need to get clever. Your primary method is drying. It's simple in theory, grueling in practice. You take the meat mammoth, bison, reindeer, and slice it into thin, uniform strips. This isn't haphazard carving. You use your sharpest blade to cut with the grain, creating long, red ribbons. Then, you build drying racks frames of wood lashed together, raised off the ground. You hang the strips over these frames, ensuring air can circulate around every piece. Now, you wait, and you tend. You keep a very low, smoldering fire beneath the racks. The combination of air circulation and gentle heat slowly, relentlessly, pulls the moisture out. The meat transforms. It changes from supple and red to hard, dark, and leathery. This is what you're after. This is jerky, though you have no such fancy name for it. It's just meat that lasts. A single mammoth, properly dried, can feed your clan for weeks, maybe months. It's lightweight, portable, and packed with protein. It is your life insurance policy. But you don't just dry meat. Fish, caught in rivers during the summer runs, are split open, cleaned, and laid on racks in the same way. Berries, those precious jewels of summer, are spread on hides in the sun until they shrink into wrinkled, concentrated sweet tart nuggets. Even some edible roots can be dried and pounded into a long-lasting flour. The entire camp, during a successful hunt or a big harvest, becomes a factory of preservation. The air is thick with the savory, smoky scent of drying meat and the faint, sweet perfume of berries. It's the smell of security. And there's smoking. This is drying's more aggressive cousin. You build a closed hut or use a rock overhang and create a dense, heavy smoke from specific types of wood-green wood that smokes rather than burns cleanly. The smoke does two things. First, it adds a layer of chemicals to the meat's surface that repels insects and bacteria. Second, it imparts a flavor that, while strong, is a welcome change from the monotony of your diet. Smoking is for cuts you plan to eat sooner, or for fish that need that extra protective punch. The taste is acrid, intense, and absolutely delicious when it's the only thing between you and hunger. Your third method is freezing, but with a twist. You are a master of the permafrost. Even in summer, the ground just a few feet down remains frozen. You become a squirrel on a gigantic scale. You dig storage pits deep into the cold earth. You line them with stones or hides. You pack them with your precious, frozen winter kills legs of mammoth, sides of bison. Then you seal the pit with a heavy layer of soil, turf, and maybe a large, flat stone. This is your deep freeze. It's a buried treasure chest of calories, waiting for you when the snows return. You have to remember where you buried them, of course, and you have to protect them from scavengers, wolves, wolverines, and other clans who might be tempted by your hidden wealth. But perhaps the most valuable preservation is of fat. Fat is life. It's pure, concentrated energy. In the cold, your body burns calories at a furious rate just to maintain its core temperature. When you render fat, you are creating the ultimate survival fuel. You take the chunks of white, solid fat from around the animal's organs and slowly heat them in a hide bag or a stone bowl over a low fire. It melts, turning into a clear, golden liquid. You skim off the impurities, then let it cool and solidify into a white, waxy block. This is tallow. It can be eaten on its own, used to cook other foods, rubbed on tools to protect them, or even burned in lamps for light. Stored in a sealed bladder or a tight leather bag, it can last for an incredibly long time. A cache of tallow is better than gold. It is the difference between having the energy to trek across the steppe and collapsing in the snow. All of this work, the slicing, the smoking, the digging, the rendering, is an investment in a future you cannot see. It is an act of profound optimism. You are spending calories and time today to save calories and lives tomorrow. It requires planning, coordination, and a deep understanding of the seasons. When you open a storage pit in the dead of winter and pull out a perfectly preserved haunch of mammoth, the relief is a physical warmth. You outsmarted time. You cheated decay. And in that moment, that frozen, rock-hard piece of meat is the most beautiful thing in the world. From the stored security of the food cache, we step into the great turning wheel of the year. Your life is not a single, continuous struggle against the cold. It is a cycle of frantic intensity and frozen stillness, a dramatic pendulum swing between abundance and scarcity that dictates everything you do. You don't just live in the Ice Age. You dance with its seasons, and you must learn the steps perfectly or be swept away. Let's start with the brief, glorious explosion of summer. The world transforms. The snow retreats, revealing a tough, green carpet of grass and hardy flowers. The air, once a knife's edge, is now merely cool, thick with the hum of insects and the scent of wet earth and blooming plants. This is not a time for rest. This is a time of frantic, desperate industry. Every waking moment is accounted for. The mammoth herds have moved north, following the retreating ice, so big game hunting becomes more challenging. But other opportunities abound. This is the season of gathering. You are like a bear, fattening up for the winter. The women and children are in constant motion, harvesting berries, roots, greens, and bird eggs. The days are long, the sun barely dipping below the horizon, and you work until you collapse, your fingers stained, your baskets overflowing. This is also the season for fishing. The rivers, swollen with meltwater, are alive with salmon making their spawning runs. You stand in the icy current, using spears, nets woven from sinew, or even your bare hands to catch the silver flashing fish. They are dried and smoked by the hundreds, a crucial source of protein. It is also the time for maintenance and travel. You can move more easily now, seeking out new flint sources for tools, visiting other clans for trade and social bonding, and for finding mates outside your immediate family. Summer is loud, messy, and vibrant. The camp is a hub of activity, the air filled with the sounds of chatter, laughter, cracking nuts, and the relentless buzzing flies. You are storing sunlight in the form of calories and social connections. You are building your reserves for the silence to come. Then, autumn arrives. The air sharpens. The light turns golden and slants low across the land. The frantic pace of summer shifts into something more focused, more urgent. This is the most critical season. This is your final exam. The great herds are returning, moving south ahead of the advancing ice. The mammoth hunts begin in earnest. Every successful kill is a race against time. The meat must be butchered, processed, and dried or frozen with breathtaking speed. The hides must be scraped and prepared for the winter clothing you will desperately need. The last of the berries are gathered. The nuts are collected. You are a squirrel on a colossal scale, and winter is the hawk circling overhead. There is a palpable tension in the camp. The work is harder, the days are shorter, and the stakes have never been higher. A poor autumn means a deadly winter. There is no room for error. And then winter. The world closes in. The silence returns, deeper and more profound than before. The sun is a weak, pale visitor, skimming the horizon for a few hours before surrendering to the long, long night. Your world shrinks to the circle of firelight, the walls of your shelter, the bodies of your clan. This is the season of conservation. You move as little as possible. You tell stories. You repair tools. You sleep a lot. The preserved food you worked so hard to stockpile is now carefully rationed. A single dried strip of mammoth meat is a day's meal, gnawed on slowly to make it last. The cold is a constant, grinding presence. Going outside to relieve yourself is a major expedition, a battle against the wind that steals your breath and the cold that bites through your furs in seconds. Frost forms on the inside of your shelter. The darkness is absolute, broken only by your small fire, and, on clear nights, the breathtaking, icy glitter of the stars and the shimmering ghosts of the aurora. Winter is not a time of living. It is a time of enduring. It is a test of your preparations, your community, and your sheer, stubborn will to see the sun grow strong again. But the most dangerous season might be spring, the thaw. It sounds gentle, but it is a treacherous, unpredictable time. The snow melts, turning the ground into a sucking, muddy quagmire. Rivers swell with meltwater, becoming impassable torrents. The ice on lakes becomes weak and unstable. The weather can swing from a warm, promising breeze to a blinding, deadly snowstorm in a matter of hours. And your food stores are at their lowest. You are at your weakest after a long winter of semi-starvation. This is when people die. From falls on slippery rocks, from drowning in swollen rivers, from pneumonia caught in the damp cold, from simply not having enough strength left to make it to the next abundance. Spring is a liar. It promises life, but it often demands a final, cruel payment from the weak and the unlucky. Your entire culture, your entire rhythm of life is built around this brutal cycle. The songs you sing, the stories you tell, the rituals you perform, they are all tied to the seasons. The shaman dances for the sun's return at the winter solstice. The clan celebrates the first run of salmon, the first ripe berry. You don't measure time in days, but in seasons. In the turning of the great frozen wheel. You are a creature of the ice, yes, but you are also a creature of the brief, fierce summer, the urgent autumn, and the treacherous spring. To survive the Ice Age, you must master not just one environment, but four. And you must love the struggle enough to want to see it all happen again. From the relentless cycle of seasons that dictates your every move, we now turn to the sparks of genius that break that cycle, the moments of clarity where you do and just adapt to your world. You change it. Survival in the Ice Age isn't just about endurance. It's about invention. It's that flash in your mind when you look at a piece of flint not as a rock, but as a future blade. When you see animal fat, not as food, but as fuel for a lamp that will push back the terrifying darkness. These aren't just tools. They are thoughts made physical, ideas that will echo for millennia. Let's start with the humble, world-changing needle. You take a sliver of bone, maybe from a bird. You spend hours, maybe days, drilling a tiny hole through one end with a sharp stone awl and abrasive sand. Your hands cramp. Your eyes strain in the dim light. But when you thread sinew through that eye and pull it through two pieces of hide, you are not just sewing clothes. You are engineering a microclimate. You are creating fitted, layered garments that trap air and keep the cold at bay. Before the needle, you draped yourself in hides. After the needle, you wear a second skin. This simple invention doesn't just make you warmer. It makes you more mobile, more agile, more capable of hunting in deep cold. It expands your range. It literally redesigns the human body for the ice. Then there's the lamp. Light. You've had fire, but fire is hungry and demanding. It needs constant feeding, and it's stuck in one place. But then someone maybe by accident notices that animal fat, melted in a hollowed-out stone with a moss wick, produces a steady, controllable flame. This is a revolution in a dish. Suddenly, the deep, terrifying caves are no longer just shelters. They are canvases. You can now paint in the absolute blackness of the Lascaux chambers. You can work on tools long after the sun has vanished. You can tell stories without huddling around the central fire. The lamp extends your day. It pushes back the psychological tyranny of the long winter night. It turns time from your enemy into a resource. But perhaps the most underrated innovation is the one you carry inside your head, the concept of storage. It starts with observation. You see squirrels burying nuts. You see bees filling hives. And you think, we can do that, but on a scale that defies imagination. The decision to not eat everything you have today, to instead painstakingly dry, smoke, and cache food for a future you cannot guarantee, this is a monumental leap in consciousness. It is the birth of foresight. It is the moment you stop being a creature of the present and become a planner for the future. This isn't instinct. This is calculus. You are running equations of calories versus time, of risk versus reward in your head. The storage pit, the cache of dried meat, the bladder of rendered fat, these are not just food. They are hope made tangible. They are a bet against destiny. And the innovations keep coming. The atlatl, which we've met, isn't just a better way to throw a spear. It's the first machine. It's a lever that amplifies human force, turning your arm into something more than muscle and bone. The bow and arrow, which might be just appearing on the horizon, is even more transformative. It's stored energy. You pull the string, you store potential energy in the bent wood, and then you release it in a silent, deadly instant. It's power at a distance. It's safety. It's a whole new way to think about hunting and war. Then there's the domestication of a different kind of force, the dog. It doesn't happen overnight. It starts with wolves, lurking at the edge of your camp, scavenging your scraps. Maybe a wounded pup is spared, raised by the children. And you notice something. This animal has senses you lack. It can hear a herd miles away. It can smell a predator on the wind hours before you see it. It can track wounded game across featureless snow. And it barks. That bark is an alarm system, a night watchman that never sleeps. The dog becomes more than a pet. It is a living tool, a hunting partner, a guardian of your warmth and your children. This partnership between two species, this bond forged in the cold, will reshape the world. Even your art is an innovation. The pigments you mix, the techniques you develop for spraying paint, the way you use the contours of the cave wall to give life to your paintings. This is technology. It's a technology of the spirit. It's a way to process fear, to record history, to ask questions about the world and your place in it. That carved Venus figurine isn't just a fertility symbol. It's a conceptualization of life and continuity. It's a philosophical statement, carved in ivory. These innovations, the needle, the lamp, the storage pit, the atlatl, the dog, they don't just help you survive the Ice Age. They rewire humanity. They select for cleverness, for cooperation, for long-term planning. The people who dream up these ideas are the ones who live to pass on their genes. You are, in the midst of this frozen struggle, accidentally inventing the future. Every time you light that lamp, every time you throw a spear with an atlatl, every time you pat that wolf dog on the head, you are voting for a world of technology, of partnership, of art. You are building the foundation of everything that will come after. In the biting cold, with your brain as your primary tool, you are laying the first stones of civilization. From the specific, brilliant flashes of innovation, we now pull back to see the final, sweeping picture. This isn't just the story of how you survived a cold spell. This is the story of how the ice forged you, how the relentless pressure of that endless winter sculpted a new kind of human one whose resilience, ingenuity, and social bonds became the bedrock of our modern world. The ice is your teacher, and its lessons are etched into your very DNA. Look around at your clan, huddled in the firelight. The person who shares their food without hesitation, that's a lesson from the ice. The elder whose memory of a past migration saves you all, that's a lesson from the ice. The craftsperson who patiently naps a blade for hours, that's a lesson from the ice. The ice didn't just kill the weak. It actively selected for the clever, the cooperative, the compassionate. It rewarded those who could plan, who could share, who could remember. The social contract isn't a philosophical idea for you. It's a biological imperative. You cooperate or you die. This is the deep, frozen root of human society. And then the world begins to change. Slowly, imperceptibly at first. The glaciers, those vast, grinding rivers of ice, begin to retreat. The mammoth steppe, your great frozen pantry, starts to transform. Lush forests begin to creep north, replacing the grasslands. The great herds of mammoth and woolly rhino, your giants, are growing thinner, more scattered. Their world is shrinking. For generations, your stories have been about the cold. Now they become stories of change, of a world in flux. The very environment that forged you is fading away. You adapt, of course. You always adapt. You learn to hunt in forests, to fish in newly formed lakes, to gather from a different set of plants. But the writing is on the wall, or perhaps on the melting permafrost. The age of the giant hunters is drawing to a close. The skills that defined your ancestors, the coordinated mammoth hunt, the construction of bone huts, are becoming legend, remembered by elders, but less often practiced. It's a bittersweet transition. The terror of the ice is receding, but so is the majestic, brutal world you mastered. But what you built here, in the cold, does not melt away with the glaciers. It travels with you. The needle, the lamp, the atlal, the dog, these are your inheritance to the future. The concept of art, of ritual, of burying your dead with grave goods, this profound sense of meaning and spirituality is now part of the human toolkit. The ability to plan for the long term, to store food, to live in complex, cooperative societies. These are the survival strategies that will allow your descendants to build villages, then towns, then cities. You are the bottleneck generation, the ones who squeezed through the narrowest point of human history when the climate was at its worst and the odds were longest. The genetic diversity of all humanity today passed through you. The fact that we are here, in a world of relative warmth and abundance, is your doing. Your struggle, your loss, your ingenuity, your courage, it's all in us. The Ice Age didn't just test humanity. It refined it. It forced us to become smarter, more social, more resilient. When you look up at the stars on a cold, clear night, you see the same constellations your descendants will see thousands of years from now. You feel the same awe, the same wonder, the same need to tell stories about the lights in the sky. The fire you tend is the same flame that will burn in hearths for centuries to come. You are not a primitive creature in a dead world. You are the essential link. You are the bridge between a scattered, struggling species and the global civilization that will one day follow. The ice will retreat. The giants will fall. But the lessons learned in their shadow, the value of community, the power of innovation, the strength found in shared stories and common purpose, these will endure. You survived the ice. But more importantly, you carried a spark through the ice. The spark of culture, of technology, of art, of humanity itself. And as the world warms and changes, that spark, nurtured in the deepest freeze, is ready to set the whole world ablaze.